Okay guys, it's time for me to start part 2 of my seed starting. I have 4 trays here. They are of course under my grow lights. And this is my lettuce. It's just kind of blown my mind that it's grown like this. I've got to get it in the garden under a little bit of shade cloth. This one got started just a little bit later, but it's beginning to come on, and I've got another tray here. So I've got 5 trays, and yes, I have room for more trays by simply moving downward. Now we move on to the next part of the process. On my trays, I have a tray with no holes to catch all water, and then my trays themselves, the little trays are set in these, and yes, these are recycled. I did have to buy some more new trays without holes. That's the only reason that one's new. So what I'm going to do here is simply lift this up, set it down here in my tote that holds my potting soil, and I'm going to fill this with potting soil. I'm simply going to shake out the potting soil, take my hands and gently work that in, and then I'll set it up and mash it down, and if I need extra potting soil in these pots, I'll put it in there. As you can see, I'm quite messy when I'm doing this, and that's why it's sitting in that tote. And this is, for those that are interested, it's actually a Miracle-Gro product, but it is Performance Organics. It is an organic potting soil. I tend to like to do everything as organic as possible. Just ignore all the trash in here. I've got tons of pots to plant things in later this year sitting around. I've got some umbrellas that will go down on the boat dock and a kitty carrier. But all I'm doing is I'm taking my hands and making sure this soil is fairly compact. The extra, I'm just knocking off into the tote right beside this little piece of plywood across 2 sawhorses that I use as a work table, because I don't want it to be too much dirt in them, but I don't want the soil to not be a little bit firm. And I just taken, I've always just used my hands. There we go. This is now ready for me to start putting my first seeds in. The first one I'm going to do is the big rainbow, and that's because if you can tell by looking, these little sprouts are really trying to come out of there. To put them in the pots, I use just a bamboo skewer that you'd get at the grocery store with water on it. The water helps them adhere to that so I can drop them over into the holes a little better. And it's not perfect, but it works. And to make the holes, I'm going to use this little dibble. Okay, let's get started here. I'm going to start by making just a little divot in the tops of each one of these trays. And I say in each one of them, in the one I'm working on. And I've found that it works best if I work on one tray at a time. Now I'm going to take and pull this out. And I'm trying not to damage these little roots. They're very, very tender. I'm simply going to take my finger and gently work that into where that root is down in that dirt. I'm not patting that dirt on there real hard. There's no need to do that. And I do have a dehumidifier out here. These are really just about the perfect to take them apart. They've just got the one long taproot, and they're not really matted together. Let's see here. It helps if I take it down in there and keep it in there. All right, push a little dirt up around that one as well. You have to be delicate with them. You don't want to break that stem. If you break that stem, it's going to die. I know this seems like a lot of trouble, but as I've said many, many times, gardening is a passion for me. This is enjoyment. This is not work. This is something that I truly, truly enjoy doing. I do think my finger is bigger and broader and doesn't put as much pressure in one point on these little seedlings. Actually, it may be working better just sticking my finger down in the hole than it is making that other, because then I can get my finger in that root down in there fairly nicely. These things had already gone to the top, hit the top and turned back. That's why you're seeing that little bend on the top of most of these. Yeah, that's going to work much better for me. I'm really anxious to try this big rainbow. I have mentioned it in vlogs before that my uncle had a tomato that was an heirloom that his mama saved the seeds from year to year, and I don't know how many years she had that seed preserved, but she did. And none of us thought to look for her seed stash after she passed. So of course, we lost it. And I've tried several varieties and I've not come up with anything that's close to it, because it was a gigantic yellow tomato. Well, that's the same thing this one is. So we're only going to hope that this one is as close to the other one as possible. Well, I broke that one. No need to put it in there. It will not live. All right, let's make that hole a little deeper. Let's put another one in there, and let's this time take a little dirt from one of the other cups and work up around it. As I said, they're very, very delicate. But I always start, unfortunately, way more than I can use. That one's inside the paper towel, so we'll just leave it on the paper towel. I'm going to get me a little cup and put some dirt in. Okay, to make it easier to feel the hole where my finger is, I've got some dirt here in a little mushroom cup. And since that one's in that paper towel, I know that paper towel is going to disintegrate. We're just going to leave it. But I am going to take, there again, I got to baby this thing. Mash that down. All right. So, believe it or not, I've already got 12 plants in the ground. I guess we couldn't say in the ground, but in the dirt. I certainly hope this is the tomato that we've been trying to find for the last 10 years. And I just keep buying different variegated red and yellow tomatoes, trying to find one similar. And as I said, all I can do is just hope and pray that this one is a match. There's a big old hunk of wood. I don't want that in there. I've got so much dirt on my hand, I'm getting these dirty, hopefully. But this marker writes through water or oil. It's amazing. It's called a Pro. All right, so this is Big Rainbow. And trust me, I don't have to write tomato on there. Once it comes up, I've gardened long enough to know what a tomato seedling looks like. All right, let's start with the money maker. I always thought of this when I saw it as just being a hybrid tomato. I was amazed to find out that it is actually an heirloom variety that has been raised for generations in England. England has a real issue with their weather. They have lots of rain, and it's very difficult for them to, with all the moisture. Of course, they are an island in England, so they have a lot of issue with the moisture. So they raise a lot of their tomatoes in the greenhouse, and that one don't look that good, and I'm not going to bother with it. Let's go over here and get one of these that's, well, I've got a couple in here I still need to get out that are doing a little bit better. I'll have to say, these added up a little bit more in the paper towel. I've got my plants in my tray and it's time to water them, and I have a mark on my spray bottle, and I'm just using a little cheap bottle that I actually got from the Dollar Tree. You do not, I repeat, you do not want to spray a lot of water on these until they get their roots established. So it's best to just keep it moist with a spray bottle. And you can go online and buy a compressed pump sprayer where you just pump it and then spray it so you don't have to squeeze it. I'm sorry, I'm a simple man. I paid $1 for this thing and it works just as well as something I'd have to pay close to $20 for. So I do what makes the most sense. But hopefully all of these will survive. Another thing I will do is water them from the bottom once they're well established. I water all of my plants from the bottom. So what I'm going to do now is set my regular tray down there that will hold my water, and to water them from the bottom, I simply will lift one of these out and pour my water right down in there. When you are watering your plants from the bottom, make sure that you don't let them set in water. Typically I'll put water in the bottom and then I'll come back about an hour later and check and make sure that they have absorbed all of that water. If they've not, I'm going to take that tray and empty that water out. It doesn't need to be in there. All right, there's the end of today's work. I have large red cherry tomatoes in the back. I have some celebrities. In the back is Big Rainbow. I have the Money Makers. I have the Pink German, the Cherokee Purple, and a large, meaty red tomato that I saved. So that's 72 plants per tray. Quite a few tomato plants, but as I said, I'll be giving quite a few of them away.